Greetings, friends. I was not planning on doing a video today. I'm still a little bit sick. I think it's COVID because my taste is, I can't taste anything. So it must be the dreaded C. It's also lowered my voice because I keep coughing. So I got an email last night from my friend, the Zen teacher and author of Hardcore Zen, Brad Warner. And he said, hey, I mentioned you in one of my videos. And I said, hey, thank you. I love it when you do that because it always gives this channel a boost. So I watched his video this morning, and I want to talk a little bit today about the contents of his video and my tea. Hold on. I had to get my green tea. I haven't had my green tea this morning. Here it is. Also, I'm at my friend's house, which we'll get to. He's got some fake candles behind me. Let's see if these, are they working? Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby, oh yeah. Okay, we got tea, we got fake candles, we go talk some Zen. Okay, so Brad got a message on one of his videos or an email or something from a guy named Johnny Samadhi. And Johnny Salami says to Brad, he says, your video about whether or not you have to be a monk to get enlightened is wrong. I'm kind of summarizing here. I would read the comments, but it's not my webpage. I don't want to start reading other people's comments. But basically the gist of Johnny Salami, Johnny Samadhi, sounds like a made man who's about to get whacked. Hey, is your name Johnny Salami? No, I'm Johnny Samadhi. Johnny Salami's down the street. You're Johnny Samadhi? Come here. Anyways, Johnny Samadhi says to Brad, he says, basically, in order to become enlightened, you have to be a monk because you need to spend at least 5 hours a day or more on the meditation cushion, okay? So he goes on to say that, Theravadan monks spend 20 hours a day on the cushion meditating, and Zen monks spend an extreme amount of time on the cushion per day meditating. And Johnny Salami's point is, if you're a layperson, you don't even get going in your meditation until you're about 2 hours in. He's speaking for himself there, which, dude, all you need is 5 seconds, but that's another story. If you're doing it right, you don't need 2 hours. You need to sit fully. If you're sitting fully, 5 seconds is the same as 2 hours. But anyways, anyway, you can see Johnny Samadhi's comment triggered me a little bit. And at the end of his video, Brad, there's a lot of heat in this room. Or maybe the heat's coming from me, you know what I'm saying? It's getting hot in here. Anyways, I'm talking about this knucklehead Johnny Salami. And at the end of his video, Brad said, hey, Shozan Jack Hobner spent a lot of time in a Zen Buddhist monastery. Maybe he and I should talk about this. And then, of course, when he said that in the video, I started talking to myself. I started talking to Brad in my head about this topic, anticipating the conversation we would have about it. I think he was saying that we should have a conversation and record it and maybe play it on his station or mine or both. But I'm jumping the gun because I really got to thinking about this topic today. As I said, I'm a little bit triggered by it because I knew a lot of Johnny Samadhis when I was at the monastery, and I was a Johnny Samadhi myself. It's this idea, there's a hint of arrogance and presumption to it. There was among us monks that this really is the only way. This is the quintessence of the spiritual path, monastic training. So is that true? Do you have to be a monk to get enlightened? Well, so first of all, what does that term enlightenment mean? Well, we'd never ever used that word at the monastery when I was there. In my experience, people who throw this word around are novices or cult leaders, okay? The term doesn't have a specific meaning. It's like that old fable about the guy who goes into the forest and he finds a pile of gold and he grabs the gold and he goes through this big adventure and he finally leaves the forest. And the second he comes out of the forest and into the human world where the gold has some specific, value, it turns into dust in his hands. The term enlightenment, it reminds me of that old fable. It doesn't have use value in the human world, and it's dangerous, and I find a little bit stupid to use it. So as Brad pointed out in his video, what Johnny Pastrami probably means is enlightenment experiences, these transformative openings like that we read about in the Zen Buddhist texts. Is it the case that being at a monastery, you're going to have more of these enlightenment experiences? Yeah, basically. I think so. I was remembering this morning. I did my first retreat. I'd never done any Zen retreats before. I almost couldn't even sit, okay? I didn't sit. That was just a pretext. It was the payment I had to give my mentor was to sit with him for an hour and a half so that we could then do the real stuff, which was go get margaritas at the Butt Hut, the Tropicana. He called it the Butt Hut. I won't explain why. A bar in West Hollywood where he frequented. We would go there and we would have some margaritas and we would really talk about Buddhism. And that to me was the crux of my Zen practice. Until I did my first Dai-Sesshin retreat up at the Mount Baldy Zen Center. And I was totally unprepared for this. I mean, we got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. We had to be in the Zendo meditation hall in our robes, butt on the cushion, by 3:10. Every second of the day, except sleep and bathroom time, and a few breaks, a 20-minute break after lunch, and a 15-minute break after breakfast, and a 15-minute break after dinner. Every second other than those was spent Zazen meditation, koan practice with our teacher, chanting practice, or did I say koan practice? Koan practice, or what was the other one? Formal meals. I mean, even our showers, we did formal showers, right? So every aspect of the day was meditation. It's a strict Rinzai Zen training schedule, and the experience absolutely blew my mind. In the literal sense of the word, it blew me away. It blew myself out of the room. It was so hard sitting on that cushion, meditating hour after hour. And I had a guy next to me, and he was also new, and he kept swallowing really loudly and making these like noises with his mouth. And I mean, I wanted to tear him to pieces with my hands. It was a difficult experience. But by the end of it, something had shifted in me, and it was an enlightenment experience. I remember coming back to West Hollywood where I was living, and thinking, my teacher Sasaki Roshi, he would eventually become my teacher. He was, I think, 98 years old at that time, and I remember laying down on my couch in my apartment on Fountain Avenue, and offering a kind of prayer, please don't let him die before I get my training in, because I'm going to that monastery. I'm going to live there. I'm going to train with this guy. I'm going to do this. This is what my life is going to be about. Something had shifted. So all those margarita conversations I had had with my mentor finally paid off by culminating into this need to go and sit down and meditate and practice in a hardcore retreat. And something shifted in that retreat. So I understand where Johnny Samadhi is coming from. Like I would be such a different human being if I hadn't gone through those 13 years of full-time Zen monastic practice. And every training season, there would be a shift of some kind. Every training season, just about, there would be an opening of some kind, and enlightenment experience. And some, not every, that's not, depends what you want to call an enlightenment experience, but that environment is set up, arguably, to push you, and then you go into the Sanzen room with your Rinzai Zen teacher, who's giving you your koan and who's working on the koan with you. And I remember reading D.T. Suzuki, and D.T. Suzuki, the great Zen writer's observation was that Rinzai Zen really pushes you to have these experiences. And I'm tentative to use that formulation because, like I said, my teacher never talked about enlightenment experiences. I mean, if you even came in there lightly smelling of someone who thought they had an enlightenment experience, I mean, he was merciless, utterly merciless with like the spiritual arrogant. Like you, or even if you had this experience, and you went in there and you tried to hide it from him, he could smell it, and you would get something like, "Don't attach to Satori. Don't attach to the heaven world." Or he would begin, you have Satori, good. You become my successor someday. And he would lead you on this path of just where your head was slowly going up your own you-know-what, and then eventually you would realize, Roshi was just screwing with me. He's not going to make me the successor. My big enlightenment experience, maybe it wasn't that great, etc., etc. Now, why would Roshi do that? And why wouldn't a Zen community emphasize these enlightenment experiences? In my experience, all enlightenment experiences pass. They come and go. It's an opening that happens within a specific moment of your life, and it usually relates to what you've been doing at that time and where your practice has been going and what you're ready for and what you need. And as Brad said in his video, and this is a really good point, he said he feels like these experiences just come down from God. Now, he doesn't like to use the word God. I don't necessarily like to use it either, but I'm perfectly okay using it. I mean, the way Brad put it was, he doesn't want to give the impression that God is up there dropping enlightenment on top of people, something like that. Of course not. But, in my experience, when these experiences are true and real, and they're not sort of engineered by the environment, because you really can engineer an enlightenment type experience with an environment. Like, you just smash people with a hard schedule, and you get a charismatic teacher, and you get a bad lieutenant. So you need a bad lieutenant, who's the shika at the monastery, the head monk. And the bad lieutenant is going to hammer you. It's going to say, you're not doing something right. You're screwing up the form. Do it this way. Do it that way. You're doing something wrong. You're an idiot. So you got the bad lieutenant, then you've got the enlightened teacher, and then you've got the enlightened teacher who only he truly understands you, and only you truly understand him. And the teacher can let you know that, like, you're very good. These other students, not so good, but you have much potential. That sort of environment. Deprive a person of sleep, deprive them of protein, make them cold in the zendo or hot in the zendo, no air conditioning or no heat. You're going to manufacture or engineer a type of experience. And a lot of times the type of experience that gets, manufacture maybe isn't quite the right word, because experiences can be real. But I think, they can be real, but also they are a bit manufactured. And there was a lot of that at the monastery, and that's the sort of thing I think that my teacher Sasaki Roshi would just brutalize you for if you brought that sort of energy or that experience into your koan practice with him. But there's another type of experience, which I think Brad was talking about in his video, that really it feels like just it's the grace of God. Like something hits you and there's an opening. And it's just like, yeah, it's a strange thing. It's definitely nothing that you have caused and nothing that anyone anywhere has caused to happen. It feels like a gift, like grace or a gift from the universe, or just a door opening that you had no idea was there, opening out to infinity or something. It's very, So I guess my main point is this. A lot of the other points I think Brad already made pretty well in his video. I saw a lot of people come through the monastery and have these experiences. To varying degrees. Some of them I think were pushed, these people were pushed into the experiences by the intense environment. Other people perhaps had an extremely big opening of some kind, and then they came to the monastery to work it out a little bit. But in every case, the experience of enlightenment only got them so far. Sooner or later, they're back in their old body with their old karma and their old personality and their old problems, having to live their lives. Like, I never saw a person who got delivered from their life. There's something to look at here. Like, if we're defining this practice as a kind of like a rocket that boosts us out beyond the atmosphere of our own lives and into some, outer realm, I think we're going to be disappointed. I think that's a romantic view of spiritual practice or Zen practice. I think the point of Zen is to wake up. And I don't think you need an enlightenment experience to wake up. Although it doesn't hurt to have some experience of some kind, because otherwise you're just going on faith. I think that's what a lot of monotheism is all about. It's faith that there's a bigger picture, that there's a God, that there's a supernatural truth. When you have the experience when you have said experience, then you know. But the thing is, you forget. Life goes on, right? Like, life moves on, and every day you find yourself having to make tea, having a cold, having to sweat and go to the bathroom and stand in a line at Kroger's or Ralph's or Whole Foods or Bila is what we have here, or Hofer is what we have here. Like, you have to stand in line at the post office. Like, you have to live moment after moment of your life. And to me, that was always the most impressive thing about my teacher, is not that he blew my doors off with big insights. It's that he did small things so beautifully, and every day was like this adventure. And you could feel, I don't know, he was the most enlightened person I've ever known. If enlightenment again is the word, which I really hate that word. But he was. And he was so in love with his life, like with the things he had to do every day. It felt like love, like when he had to brush his teeth, he would really be doing it seriously, And then walking, because he couldn't even walk towards the end of his life. I mean, he couldn't walk. He couldn't even brush his teeth. Could he brush teeth? Yeah, he could brush his teeth, but that was about it. He could go to the bathroom barely and brush his teeth and drink tea and eat a plum. But he did these extremely simple, basic human activities. He did them with such care and attention and awakeness and awareness. And as he lost the ability to do more and more things, he had a sense of humor about it, and he had curiosity about it. He was watching his body die, and he would say, "Oh, very, very interesting how this happens. Very interesting." And he would say, "I'm still alive." And he would apologize. He'd be like, "I'm sorry, I'm still alive." And he would say, "But I must not be enlightened yet, fully enlightened, because I'm not dead yet." The implication being, that was the final Satori, was we're given this human life. We're given this human life, and that's the life you have to wake up in. Now, it's true what Johnny Salami said, like, in the sense of, I'm losing my voice, I apologize. I shouldn't have made a video today. I should have just rested. Because I'm a little bit feverish and this is a little bit incoherent. I apologize. Listen, if I hadn't gone to the monastery, like, I would be lost probably. I'd be a fucking moron. And that life saved my life, and it gave me riches that are beyond compare. And I would never want to diminish monastic style training. You know? And anybody who's thinking about doing it, I urge you, go, go, go. But the thing is, like, whatever is keeping you from being enlightened in the real world is going to follow you up to the monastery. And you'll get your doors blown off a few times, for sure. And you'll have enlightenment experiences, for sure. But you're never really going to truly escape yourself. You have to keep manifesting enlightenment over and over and over. Second after moment, after day, after month, after year. And that was the point of me bringing up my teacher earlier. Every day when he woke up, it was a struggle, okay? He had a body that hurt him. And I watched him give himself to his life and his simple teeth brushing and umeboshi plum eating. I watched him give himself, re-enlightenmentify himself every morning, wake up and re-manifest. He called it dying into the activity. And then he would be reborn, right? Dying into brushing your teeth. But then you have to let go of brushing your teeth enlightenment, and you have to do moving your bowels enlightenment. You give yourself to that activity. And then you have to do meeting with the head monk, shika, monastic financial discussions, enlightenment. And you have to give yourself to that, like, moment after moment after moment. There's no free ticket. Like, you don't get to just commit to doing monastic training and suddenly you're going to be enlightened. And Brad brought this up in his video, and this is a good point that maybe I want to close on. Like there's a lot of people who go to monasteries to just escape, right? Like, and you just can't escape. You can't escape yourself. Like I said, whatever is keeping you from being enlightened in your life, in the real world, that's going to follow you up on the cushion. And it's going to keep you from being enlightened on the cushion too, right? Like, monastic practice doesn't change you. Enlightenment experiences do not change you. They're gifts. You have to change yourself, but you can't really change yourself either. All you can do is give yourself, the way my teacher gave himself, over and over and over to the activities in your life, to the challenges in your life, right? And you can do that in a monastery, or you can do it down here in your lay life. And in my experience, like, sooner or later, you gotta come down and do it in a lay life. You can't hide up at the monastery forever. It's the ox herding pictures in the Zen tradition. The guy starts off getting a glimpse of enlightenment, and he follows the path of enlightenment, and the path of enlightenment ultimately leads him off the mountain and into the marketplace, or back down into lay life again. So sooner or later you got to come back to lay life. Now the truth is, I needed that time in a monastery, and I think if you have a lay practice, do your meditation as much as you can consistently, so daily. And if you can, get to those week-long Dai-Sesshin meditation retreats, or if you're a Vipassana practitioner, get to your 10-day Vipassana retreats, whatever it is, like once a year or once every couple years, a really intense retreat I think is good. It clears away, it's actually essential, baby. It clears away a lot of your the cobwebs. It's like spiritual spring cleaning, and it helps remind you of how deep your practice can go. It helps remind you of how strong you can be. It helps remind you of what it means to sit meditation, because you do, to Johnny Salami's point, you really do have to sit. I did anyway, for extended periods of time. Meditate for extended periods of time to really settle down into yourself and actually just meditate, right? I mean, the truth of the matter is, once you know how to meditate, you can do it for 5 seconds. You can do it on a train. You can do it sitting on a chair like this. Once you know how to do it, once you've done it, you can do it anywhere. But you can always go deeper into that practice, and these longer retreats are good for that. And if you have the karma and the ability and the opportunity to go and train at a monastery, like, God bless and good luck. But it ain't gonna change you. Like, nothing can really change you or make you other than a human person, right? Because you still got to get up in the morning and brush your teeth and go grocery shopping and go to the post office and deal with some jerk who's treating you badly. And the signal of your enlightenment, or for your enlightenment, the proof of it, the practice, is what you do in those circumstances, in the most ordinary circumstances in your life. How awake and aware you are, how much you can give yourself fully to the circumstances without ego, without pretense, without thinking, just connecting directly. That's what I think. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to go pass out. If you get something out of these videos, you can support this channel over on Patreon, patreon.com/Shozan There are essays up there. There's a great community. I love these people. They're my Sangha. And you can join that Sangha, that e-Sangha, over on patreon.com. Help support this channel, and I appreciate it. You can also hit subscribe and hit like and hit the notifications button. That helps this channel too. Okay, take care, friends.